Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. Welcome to episode 30 of the Revive Yourself podcast. Here we go.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Have you got a health issue that just won't go away no matter what you try? Then welcome to the Revive Yourself podcast, where we reveal the secrets to long-lasting health by getting to the root cause of problems that no one else is talking about. So you can have more energy, clear skin, healthier hair, a leaner physique, more confidence, and most importantly, do the things you love and live the life you deserve. Here's your host, Ryan Martin.
So guys, welcome to episode 30. Hope you're good, hope you're having a great day, hope everything's well. Just want to give you some feedback. The episode with Derek, last week's episode, people have really enjoyed that one. They got some really good messages coming through, so I'm really glad that we got him on, and we're getting him back on to talk about kids' development in sport. As I said before, whether we should be specialising in their development, just having one sport, playing one sport so they get better at that, or so they can be the best they can be at that, or whether they should be doing multiple disciplines, multiple sports to try and improve them in their performance all round, and then they can pick that sport from there. So we'll be going into that with Derek. But yeah, guys, had some really good messages, real good feedback from that. And Derek's a real good person, so as I said before, you can go and follow him and get some great information from him on his site. As for what we've been doing here, guys, a lot more people have been going through the free 4-day mini course and been getting some great messages, great results with that there. So before, if you want in on that, then go to www.reviveyourself.co and you can click on the link there right on the homepage, and you'll be sent straight to the free 4-day course. And as I said before, as I always talk about, any issues you've got regarding a chronic health issue, which is fatigue, adrenal issues, thyroid problems, weight management issues, skin issues, gas bloating, chronic gut issues like IBS, colitis, Crohn's, etc., then this is for you. It's going to teach you exactly why these issues have come on and what you can do about them. But anyway, guys, on to today's episode. Today we have a gentleman called Mark Lester with us. He is the owner of the Finchley Clinic, which is based in Finchley, which is in North London in England, the UK. But Mark comes from a family that have always had an interest in natural health. His father used to own the shop, and he actually didn't used to own any supplements or promote supplements, as Mark goes into. Then he goes into an interview, I should say, but back in the day his dad didn't used to. But Mark now has not only the shop in Finchley, but he has the store online, which is www.thefinchleyclinic.com, where he has a whole host of top-end supplements that you can get, with therapeutic supplements that are going to help with all different sorts of health issues. And as I always stress to say, these are not magic bullets on their own. I mean, they can do great things, but pair them with a holistic lifestyle, with lowering your overall stress, good sleep, exercise, healthy eating, etc., clean water, organic food. They're gonna make a big difference to your health. So here's episode number 30, guys, with Mark Lester. Hope you enjoy. We go into a lot of different topics here, especially around supplements and the quality of the supplements, and how he selects his supplements. And we talk about why certain supplements have had to be taken off the shelves, and why he will always be voting out when it comes to the European Union. And it's nothing to do with other political stances. It's all to do with the food quality and our supplement quality, and what being in the EU will mean for them. So guys, without further ado, here's Mark. Enjoy the episode, and I'll see you on the other side. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 30 of the Revive Yourself podcast. Today's guest is Mark Lester, and he is the owner, or the CEO at least, of the Finchley Clinic. And the Finchley Clinic provides, or if you actually go on the website, it's www.thefinchleyclinic.com. They're a provider of high quality products, supplements, and they deliver all over the world. So Mark, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. So Mark, I I know that your journey. I mean, we were talking a little bit before over email and stuff, and you mentioned a little bit about your journey into the health world. So, just for the guys out there, can you just tell them a little bit how you got into what you do, and what, just your journey really, and how you got into owning or at least running the Finchley Clinic.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm not a doctor, nor would I hold myself out to be, and I don't like it when people do invent qualifications for themselves that are essentially meaningless or self-endowed. I come from a family that's been involved with naturopathic medicines, goes back to the 1950s, actually. My father got into it primarily through bad health of his own. He had some quite serious health problems. So we were brought up very much on a sort of whole food diet. This was in the days when everyone ate white bread. You had to go to the health food shop even to get wholemeal bread. We were allowed sweets and chocolates, but they were my own mother's home baked cakes with wholemeal flour and sort of brown sugar. Still not brilliantly healthy, but vastly better than the white flour products found in the supermarket. And if I did get ill as a child, I was never really taken to doctors. I did get taken to herbalists and homeopaths and so on. And that did happen a fair amount because I wasn't a naturally particularly robust child. Not naturally particularly robust now. I'm someone who has to work for my health. Essentially, my phone's about to go off. I'm going to just press that to stop it ringing. Essentially, I got into it myself also because I wasn't naturally that healthy and had some health issues, especially in my teens. I actually did a law and politics degree, which I liked so much that I went then to Naturopathic college. And I never completed my training there. I did some of the training, set up originally as a massage therapist. Then I got into something called the Bowen technique, which I still use to this day. Wonderful, gentle alternative to things like osteopathy and chiropractic. Trained in something called electrocrystal therapy. And the nutritional stuff, which actually takes up most of my time now, followed a parallel course with also getting interested in oxygen and ozone therapy and doing something called the Rife machine. And gradually I started selling a few nutritional supplements to customers, patients, clients, whatever you want to call them. Gradually that got busier and busier and busier until I no longer had the time to see patients. So that's a very quick summary of how over the period of about 10 years I went from being a practitioner to being essentially a nutritionist and the owner of a company and a business that was far bigger than I ever would have anticipated.
Oh, awesome. So just for the record then, you don't do one-on-one consultations anymore?
I do a few, usually to people who are pushy about getting my attention, but I don't widely advertise my availability for consultations. I wouldn't have the time to consult with more than a few people a week on an in-depth basis. Although I am available in terms of the fact that I give a lot of free advice, both by email and with short calls, meaning a call that might only be 10 minutes. And very often I've got what I know about down to a pretty much fine art, and I can cut to the chase pretty quickly with the types of inquiries that I get. Obviously, there are more in-depth ones where I do say to the person, I think if you want me to venture into this in detail, it's going to need a full consultation over the phone or in my clinic in Finchley. But for the most part, I'm available for people and they can get my attention. And I can deal with their inquiry within 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
But in fairness, a lot of my clients have already, read the website and seen a little bit about what we do. So they've got fairly specific questions up their sleeves already, based on a bit of knowledge.
Yeah, 100%. I get what you're saying. Very, very busy then. As you said, you can give information out about your product range anyway, because at the end of the day, they're going to be buying that. So it's good to give them information on the products they need. If I was to say to you, what over the last, well, we'll just go for it. What's the most common health issue people come to you with or ask you about?
In my case, it would be candida overgrowth and related problems such as parasites and general gut dysbiosis. That's probably my single biggest thing.
Yeah, it's gut health and candida. Yeah, it's a very growing problem. Well, in fact, I think it's something that they talk about. I think studies have shown the world, 90 to 95% of the world have got a parasitic or fungal infection. So that's not a surprise. So, Mark, when it comes to the products that you sell in your product range, I should say, in the Finchley Clinic, how would you go about sourcing the range? What are you looking for, and what things are you looking to avoid?
Well, I'm not really looking to source any new products because we've got enough already. And as to how I go about it, the core ranges that I sell came about serendipitously, I would say. It all started with my interest in oxygen and ozone therapy and a product called Homozone, which was the forerunner of the product that's now our best-selling product, which is called Oxy Powder, and we do a rival brand called Colathan, and a third rival brand called Mago 7. But going back to your question, I originally just wanted to try it on myself and make it available for people coming for ozone therapy as a way of providing them an opportunity to oxygenate their body on a daily basis between treatments. Bought 12 bottles. Thought, I don't know, I only wanted one for myself. Are my clients going to be interested, or are the rest going to be lying on the shelf? Well, I ended up selling all 12 of them within a week. So then I bought another 12 and I sold those within a week. So the next time I bought 50. And I think the next time I bought, I had 100. And I don't sell that product anymore because it was too expensive and too hard to get hold of. So I ended up looking for an alternative, similar product or rival brand. That's how I came across the Colathan. And my interest in oxygen therapy also led me to the path of the liquid oxygen products. There's a couple we no longer sell because the authorities in their ignorant stupidity banned us from selling them. There's a couple that we can still sell and also get excellent results. So I sourced those with my interest in oxygen therapy. And then my sort of journey to becoming a bit of a specialist with candida issues started a bit from those, because both of those products were anti-candidal, but primarily because the guys who made the Oxygen Elements Max, in those days it was called Oxygen Elements Plus, told me we've got a great new product that we're getting fantastic results with for candida called 3-Lac. It was quite expensive, but I said, well, bung a dozen of them in with my next order. And again, same thing happened, sold the whole lot within a week. Wasn't sure whether I'd sell any. This was in the early days of the internet. Put it on my website, and cutting a long story short, that started selling so fast that I actually couldn't get stock of it quick enough. These days, it doesn't sell as fast as it used to. That is because the authorities, both in the US and in the UK, stopped us from being able to advertise it meaningfully, so that we couldn't tell anyone what it actually did, which obviously caused a drop-off in sales. There are other reasons, but that's the single biggest reason why it doesn't sell as well. And the whole product range from Global Healing Health Tracks, beg your pardon, I ended up selling, for instance, their active digestive enzymes, colostrum, other products of theirs, essentially because I was doing some of their brand, and I thought, well, we might as well make the others available. So that's how, this is in a nutshell how we ended up sourcing products. And the Global Healing Center brand, which is probably our biggest selling brand of all now, all started because we had a colonic hydrotherapist who was buying and recommending quite a lot of colothan, she came across this oxy powder. She took the view that it was a better product. I'm not disagreeing or agreeing publicly, because the truth is my experience is that individual results vary, even with very similar products. But she was insistent it was the best one, and she more or less said, I want you to start selling it, and if you don't start selling it, I will. Well, I didn't want to lose what was effectively my best customer and my best source of new custom at the time, or one of my best ones. So I took the risk, bought 1,000 bottles in one go of a product I'd never ever seen or taken myself. The risk, I think it was more than 1,000. Anyway, the risk paid off, sold very well, very quickly. I mean, obviously there was work behind it, and I promoted it and made sure people knew about it and so on. And there was the colonic therapist, and a few others were also telling people about it. And again, I ended up taking on more or less the entire Global Healing Centre brand, primarily, though, originally because of the oxy powder, which is both an oxygenator and a colon cleanser. And again, it does help for people with candida and dysbiosis issues. So, sorry, slightly long-winded reply, but that's how I ended up sourcing our core ranges.
No, that's awesome. People like to go in depth. They like to know the story behind things, and so I'm going to go into oxygen-based products in a minute. But with the oxy powder, something that I use, I've bought it from you before. It's the Global Healing Centre, guys listening, is it comes from a guy called Dr. Edward Group. He's been around the industry for a long time now, and I think he cites the number 2 or number 3 biggest natural health site in the whole of the US. His products, in my opinion, are very, very good, and that oxygen, the oxy powder is actually, as you said, an oxygen-based magnesium bowel cleanser, and he says it causes a lot of less irritation to the gut lining than some things such as psyllium husks do, etc. So yeah, no, I'd 100% back that. I'm glad you did bring it over, because it means I can get it myself. So when we were just talking, I'm going to touch on, you mentioned a little bit there about why you've had to stop advertising some of your products, etc., and why you have to take some off the shelf. I want to touch on that in a little bit, but just for the audience out there, just give quickly, why is oxygen therapy or oxygen-based products so good for the body, and why are they so important for health reasons?
Well, before I answer that question, I will say, and it's tangential, I do feel that I do totally agree with Dr. Edward Group that psyllium-based and other fibre-based products, I'm not very keen on them for gut cleansing. For one thing, they're quite commonly allergenic. Secondly, they don't really cleanse; they bulk the gut. Mm-hmm. And thirdly, they don't oxygenate the colon. So to answer your question, sufficient oxygen in the body is the basis of all life. For more information, I would recommend people to go a step further than what will be within the scope of our discussion and get the book Oxygen Therapy. No, Flood Your Body with Oxygen, beg your pardon, written by Ed McCabe. It's available from Amazon. It's about £20. It's a 650-page book about all of the benefits of oxygen therapy, different ways of oxygenating your body, and so on. So you can appreciate that with people writing 650 pages books on the subject, and even then he had to cut it down because there was so much to say, that what I'm saying will be relatively basic. But basically, oxygen is the single most critical basis of life in the body. Through our impaired lifestyle, impaired relative to how nature intended us to be. I'm talking about our sedentary lifestyles, our indoor lifestyles, and I include myself in this, our suboptimal food choices, the pollution in the environment. Pretty much all of us are not oxygenating our bodies both at a cellular level and into the gut as well as we could be. Digestion itself is a process of oxidation. In other words, digestion requires a nice healthy level of oxygen in order to be carried out efficiently. And when you do oxygenate the body, yes, the oxy powder is used for colon cleansing and helps tremendously with people with a tendency to stagnant bowel movement. It does help on that level because it increases the oxidative cycle in the gut, but actually the colon cleansing effect, which is what the majority of people buy it for, is almost frivolous compared with the greater effect of providing the body with more oxygen, from which people will have more energy, their joint problems will improve, their eyes and skin will become clearer. Every aspect of their well-being will be enhanced by oxygenating the body and doing it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just through using the oxygen colon cleansers. They can also use the liquid oxygen products as well. And there are other ways of oxygenating the body, which maybe we'll briefly touch on later.
Yeah, obviously there's ozone therapy and there's lots of different things, but as you said there, it is the single most important thing. You can go days without food, and even, well, you can go weeks without food, and you can go days without water, but without oxygen, you're in trouble, right? So it is.
Yeah, try stopping breathing, and you'll see how long you last without oxygen.
Exactly. Yeah. So as people can probably appreciate, that's why it's very, very important. So Mark, you mentioned there a couple of times before about, and if you ever join up to the Finchley news, www.thefinchleyclinic.com, you can get their newsletter, and I often get them through. And some of them mention that you have to remove some products from the site, or you have to remove explanations about what these products do, even though they're powerful. I know it's not just you that's happened. This has happened to quite a lot of different people in the natural health world. Why is this, and how frustrating is it for you?
Well, the official reason is to protect consumers from unfounded claims or dangerous products and all of this sort of thing. Pretty much everyone in the industry knows that there's a bit of that, but it's primarily to protect the vested interests that have campaigned for the various regulations that we live under these days. And you can bet your bottom dollar that the organisations who are fighting for as many restrictions as possible do not have the public interest in heart. There may well be brown paper envelopes and subtle, discreet exchanges in our case in the EU, which is not exactly the most open organisation in the world. So the real reason we think is about protecting vested interests. And the way they've got away with these regulations is through salami tactics, meaning slice by slice, the expression famously used in the TV programme, Yes, Prime Minister, but actually it really is like that. So it started off with, for example, the Food Supplements Directive. Then we had the Traditional Herbal Medicinal Products Directive, which essentially classified all herbs as medicines and illegal from sale unless they were so-called culinary herbs. And then you could sell them so long as you didn't make so much as a hint of a health claim about them. And I'll talk about that, the health claim aspect, in a moment. So that had a severe effect on the availability of herbs. Medicinal herbs, you had to sell them through a rather expensive system of product licensing, which for any company that's not a multi-million-pound company was completely impractical. Polyherbal products became even harder to market because much more expensive processing again. So what we were left with in terms of medicinal herbs, where you could actually tell people what they did, was herbal products produced by pharmaceutical companies with all their pharmaceutical chemicalized rubbish in them, bared almost no resemblance to the original traditions of herbal medicine. I won't be selling those. So we're left with culinary herbs. Of course, culinary herbs are still very powerful. Ginger, for example, was shown in one study to be more effective as a treatment for migraine than the most commonly prescribed orthodox medicine. But they can't really ban ginger because we use it in our food. That really would cause riots in the streets. So they got away with it. They avoided riots in the streets by doing it in stages. I've just told you two of the stages. Another stage was the Health and Nutrition Claims Directive. Another one was the various labelling directives, supposed to, again, protect the consumer, but a lot of it was nonsense. The labelling directives even go down to the font size required for listing of ingredients and this sort of thing, which then affects the sizes of the packages it has to be in and that sort of thing. A lot of it was complete nonsense. I almost don't know where to start with this subject because your question is such a huge one. But in essence, we've had to, in some cases, downgrade the products in order to comply with regulations. In some cases, we've had to remove them altogether. In some cases, we've had to source products which, in fairness, are similar, but not the same. For instance, under the Food Supplements Directive, there were many forms of magnesium that made it, and there were many forms that did not make it. Well, there's sufficient ones that did make it as being allowed under EU law that we're okay for magnesium supplements, if I'm honest. But there were countless that got banned. Why did they get banned? Because as far as I can tell, making it onto the positive list under the Food Supplements Directive for a vitamin or mineral depended on whether that form happened to be available from a supplier in Germany. If it wasn't available in Germany, it didn't matter how good it was, how safe it was, that form of magnesium then got banned from 2009 onwards. So a lot of it is complete nonsense, quite frankly. Me and other organisations, I've on and off spent the last 15 years being harassed by the MHRA, Food Standards Agency, Advertising Standards Authority, various other organisations. And each time we fall back. And who gets damaged? Yes, my company a bit, but the people who get damaged the most is the consumer and their ability to make meaningful choices based on knowledge and information.
Yeah, 100%. And it's something that, I remember, I think it's Dr. McCullough when I was working with my companies I used to deal with as well, come in and took the melatonin off the shelf.
Yes.
Just because it's so powerful and it actually works.
That's bad. That's banned entirely in the UK. I'm not sure what the situation is in the United States.
I think he still sells it in the United States, but and it's just like, well, it was completely natural. It worked, and then I think it was even the Queen's Police come in and said, got to get that off the shelf. And it said
other hormonal products like DHEA are also banned. The fact is, because the internet is awash with suppliers, especially on Amazon. The fact is, if you're determined enough, you normally can get these things anyway. And all it tends to do is damage EU or British business, and some American supplier gets the benefit instead.
Yeah, this is actually one on your emails. You're actually saying quite a comprehensive list of reasons, because I don't really go into politics in this show too much, and again, everything is politics, but I know you had reasons. Whether you voted in or out, it doesn't matter for the EU. You had your reasons, and if you're a health person, there's very, very good reasons for wanting out of the EU. And you mentioned some of these on your email. The basis of the reasons why was this, right? The quality of supplements for you, and what the public will be able to purchase is going to be diluted to such an extent if we're in the EU. Is this correct?
Yes, I was and am a committed outer. It's not because I'm some sort of neo-Nazi looking to kick my jackboots into the nearest person who looks a bit foreign. I wasn't interested in the immigration issue, although I think most people agree that it needs to be managed. My primary reason was because I was seeing my industry decimated. I was seeing consumer choice being decimated, and because I was seeing it in my industry, I became interested in the subject generally, and I found out that other industries. I mean, there was a woman producing jam of all things. I saw a TV program about her. She's producing jam, and she was producing one which was a low sugar jam. And because it didn't have sufficient sugar in it, it wasn't allowed to be called jam. I mean, this is unbelievable. And this was under EU regulations, and effectively she was put out of business by the EU because her jam didn't have enough sugar in it, because there are specific amounts of sugar that a jam has to be called jam. I mean, this is just nonsense, petty interference over absolutely nothing. And my goodness, we've seen it in the natural health industry, although here it's not over nothing. I think it's a war, and I think it's a war between vested interests and genuine public health, not the pretend public health which is masqueraded at by the authorities, but genuine public health and freedom of choice. And my goodness, I feel strongly that people should have their freedoms. And in the UK, it's worse than anywhere else, to the degree that we did have a very liberal regime before all of these EU regulations came in. Now, the people who supported these regulations, they said that it was a completely unregulated market. That's a lie, absolute lie. Vitamins, minerals, homeopathic remedies, herbs and so on, they were regulated under the Drugs Act 1968. Now, it was a light touch regulation, for sure, reflecting the fact that herbs, vitamins, minerals and homeopathic remedies and anything else that came within the scope of that were essentially very safe. And when problems arose, they were very minor and frivolous in the main compared with orthodox medicines, where they conservatively estimate that in the UK alone, £40,000 a year, 40,000 people, beg your pardon, a year, die as a result of correctly prescribed conventional medicines. And don't take my word for it. Google it, look it up on the internet, and you will find it. University College London did an investigation into this, and they conservatively estimated 40,000. It was reported in all the mainstream newspapers at the time. In the UK we did have a pretty liberal regime. In the rest of Europe, it was always quite a bit tougher. Some countries more than others. Where again, I believe that vested interests had already got their teeth into positions of authority, or the people in positions of authority. But in the UK, I'm afraid your rights, if you're a UK listener, have been emasculated. Now, there's still many products you can buy, but there's an awful lot that you can't. And more to the point, we can't tell you what they do. Even quoting studies, which you can then provide links to on PubMed and so on, showing these are genuine studies on what such a probiotic or vitamin or mineral has been shown to do. We can't tell you. And then I think it's a disgrace.
Yeah, it is. And as Mark said there, 40,000, that's just the ones that prescribe the right medicine for the right problem.
Yes.
Forget the ones that make the mistake of prescribing the wrong medicine or the wrong procedure, etc.
Oh, yes. The study, sorry to interrupt, the study I'm talking about actually mentioned this is only the correctly prescribed medications, the number of deaths we estimate per year.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing, right, guys? That's drugs and medication for you. I mean, how many people has milk thistle ever killed? I'm gonna go with 0.
I mean, in theory, it is conceivable that a person could be allergic to it.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Sooner or later, as night follows day, you're going to find someone who's allergic to almost anything. I mean, they've even found horses now that are allergic to grass and have to be given antihistamine. Otherwise they'd be in serious trouble with their health. Yeah. So in theory, anyone can be allergic to anything. A banana, an apple. Yes, so sooner or later you might get someone who's allergic to milk thistle and may have a horrible reaction, but you're talking minuscule numbers of people,
Yeah.
and you don't have when you go into a supermarket and buy a banana, you don't have signs on there saying do not eat bananas because you may have an allergic reaction to it.
Yeah, exactly. That was sort of my point. I don't think that if you look through, I don't think anyone's going to have on their death certificate died because of milk thistle. And this is
Well, I'm actually saying I suppose someone might if they
yeah,
have a very, very unusual
yeah,
physiology
yeah.
that's allergic to it, just as someone might die from eating a banana
So
if they have a
yeah,
violent allergy to it. But I mean, you're talking about
yeah,
one in 50 million,
yeah, yeah. What is have they the reasons for these horses being allergic to grass? Is that down to vaccinations, hormones, what they're being fed? I mean, do you know much about this?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer. I saw the newspaper article it was in, and it was from a reputable newspaper. I don't read the Sun or the American National Enquirer, reporting about some horses that are allergic to grass and have to be fed antihistamine. But I'm afraid the question of whether there are underlying causes to do with our human intervention and toxic lifestyle that's damaged the horse's immunity. Very good question. I don't know, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think it probably has got something to do with that because horses just getting allergic to grass out of it. I mean, that'd be like a polar bear getting allergic to ice, right?
Yes, indeed.
So it just seems ridiculous. And I feel sorry for the horses. I know what it's like to have had hay fever back in the past, and it's not a fun thing to have,
Yes.
because you're surrounded by it. So yeah, this is why I say, guys, this is quite a scary thing when it comes to them being able to tell us what we can and can't have, and not being able. There's another company out there called, it was in America, one that I used to use, Light Energized Solutions. They use frequency-based products. Either hospitals used to use them, and then when they started to get such good results, the pharmaceutical industry didn't want them to be around anymore. So they only got rid of them in the hospitals. Then they had to stop writing about what their products done. So literally, all you could do on the website was just look at the products and be like, "What does it do?" And say, "Well, I can't tell you." And they're some of the most powerful products I've ever used and ever had my clients use.
Wow.
And you say they're frequency medicine, and that's based in America, and you can still get them, but they've tried to basically shut the company down. But as you said, with like by resonance machines and Rife machines, etc., you can like code these frequencies into water-based products. And I've even had women hold one before and be like, "Oh my god, how powerful is that?" And that's just because people can react to frequencies. But as Mark's saying there, guys, this is why you've got to be very, very. I say, like, you've got to be passionate about having your rights to buy what you want, because at the end of the day, they can do all the studies in the world, but you are a study of one, and when it comes to you and your health, I mean, you are your own best doctor, so it's very important that we try to make a stand. And pharmacy. You mentioned, I think I even saw it today, or was it the other day? Is it Unilever? They've Pucker Herbs have sold to Unilever. So a lot of the industry now pharmaceutical industry are trying to buy out.
Yes, the Nutri Centre, who are one of the biggest UK suppliers, that they were bought up by Tesco's. Although Tesco's didn't do very well owning that company, and actually they've now disappeared altogether. So when a big company buys you up, they don't always survive. When the person who started it may have done very well, may have been quite commercial themselves, but Tesco didn't have the passion for shall we say, vitamins, minerals, herbs, and so on, and they just didn't do. They just weren't successful anymore.
Well, the thing is, if you're not, and then once again, that just wipes out another person you can get good stuff from, because Pucker Herbs is one of the. I mean, even in commercial store, even like your supermarkets, you've got Pucker Herbs, and it's all organic. They source it well. Apart from that, in yogi tea. So if I'm guessing if this goes out of business, that will be quite a huge loss, because I enjoy a Pucker cup of tea, whether it be a mint or it be a ginger. So you just hope, and if they either buy them up and dilute the products, or they buy them up and then they don't think they're going to get any money out of it, so they go all together. It's just one way of getting rid of the competition, right?
Yes, I'm not suggesting in what I said before that Tesco had a plan I think they just didn't do very well when they tried to get involved in this industry. They didn't know what they were doing, and so in the end, the Nutri Centre that they bought, they just closed the place down.
I mean,